I've been asked by some of my subscribers whether I can share my personal experience on some of the cities that I have lived in the past. The two cities that I would like to discuss with you in today's video are Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We're going to compare the cost of living, infrastructure, food, dating, and digital nomad scene. What I really want you to take away from this video is an honest and unbiased view of each of these two cities. Let's get started with the cost of living in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. As you probably know, the real estate market in Vietnam has pretty much peaked at this point. Over the past years, real estate prices have gone up every single year. Now that has changed since the pandemic started. So one of the things you have to know about living in Ho Chi Minh City is that real estate prices, apartment prices are relatively cheap. You can find a studio, one bedroom apartment in the city, in Thao Dien, in Phu My Hang. So Thao Dien and Phu My Hang are the more prominent areas for foreigners, for digital nomads living in Ho Chi Minh City. Phu My Hang and Thao Dien, it's a great vibe. You have a lot of things nearby. You have a really good you have so much convenience there. You have good restaurants, you have a great community. It's definitely cleaner than other districts of Ho Chi Minh City. If you want to rent a studio, one bedroom apartment, you can do that for as little as $350 to $450 a month. The good thing about Ho Chi Minh City is that most apartments are furnished. I would say 97-98% are fully furnished, so it's not like the US where most apartments come unfurnished. If you're looking for something bigger, a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, it's gonna cost you probably 600 plus a month. I'm not talking about these two areas, right? Thao Dien, which is in District 2, and Phu My Hang, which is in District 7. And like I said, these are the better areas. These are the areas where most foreigners live in. What else is important when we're talking about cost of living? It's not just, apartment prices and house prices, no. What's also important is, I think, taxis. Is it easy to get an Uber? Is it cheap? So you can get an Uber. They're generally speaking pretty cheap in Ho Chi Minh City. You can also get Grab motorbike, or you can get Grab car, you can get Uber car, so it's available throughout the city. And if you want to take an Uber from, let's say, Thao Dien to Phu My Hang, you're probably going to pay about 200,000 Vietnam dong. Okay, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but that comes down to roughly, I think, $8 to $9. Ubers are relatively inexpensive in Ho Chi Minh City. If you take an Uber, for a very short distance, you're gonna pay, maybe $2 to $3, $4. That's like for, I don't know, I would say 2 to 4 kilometers. Even 5 kilometers, it's still gonna be cheap. It's maybe gonna be $5, So generally speaking, I would say for 1 kilometer, you're gonna pay $1. Now let's have a look at Kuala Lumpur. Renting apartments in Kuala Lumpur, it can be cheap, can be expensive. It really depends. If you wanna rent an apartment, in the heart of the city, like KLCC, Kuala Lumpur City Center, it's gonna be more expensive than if you would rent an apartment in Petaling Jaya. I rented in Petaling Jaya. It's pretty green. You can find a 2 to 3 bedroom apartment for maybe 1,500 ringgit. It really depends a lot. I lived in Tropicana, Jalan Tropicana Selatan to be exact. And you can find also cheaper apartments, but 1,500 ringgit is what? It's like $450 roughly. So it's not a lot of money, and the apartment was fully furnished. The complex had a gym, it had pool, it had a badminton court, it had tennis courts, it had a children's playground. It had all these amenities, included free of charge. So if you went to the gym, you didn't need to pay for that. And so it was pretty good. But if you want to rent in like the city, in the heart of the city, because Petaling Jaya is practically not part of Kuala Lumpur, it's a bit outside. So you can take, I think it's called the BTS, or is that what it's called in Thailand? But anyway, you take the train, right? You take the overground, whatever you want to call it, overground, underground, You take that from Petaling Jaya, you know, it's pretty well connected. I would say transportation is better in Kuala Lumpur than it is in Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City does not really have trains, you know, unless you want to go to Phan Thiet. You know, they have a train going to that beach town. But in Kuala Lumpur, it's very well connected, you know, whereas Ho Chi Minh City, you know, doesn't have a lot of public transportation. It has buses, but it's not so much fun taking a bus in Ho Chi Minh City because, you know, it's heavily jammed. You know, it takes you forever. What about the food? That's what a lot of people want to know. Is the food in Malaysia better than it is in Vietnam? I think it's a matter of taste. Generally speaking, I would say Vietnamese food is healthier because, you know, they don't fry as much. Whereas in Malaysia, I think food is, you know, it's more tasty because a lot of it is deep fried food. So it really depends on your taste, right? Or whether healthy food is more important to you than tasty food. I really like the food in Vietnam. I like the Vietnamese hot pot. I like pho. You know, it's very light. You know, you have a little bit of meat in there. You have a lot of noodles. You have some onions, some veggies. You know, you have all kinds of other soups too. I honestly don't remember all the names right now because I have been out of Vietnam since 2019. Let's talk about the food in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. In Bukit Bintang, they have this big, giant food court, the outdoor food court. It's actually not really food court. It's more like a food street. It's like a walking street where you have a lot of restaurants serving food. Now the food in Kuala Lumpur, especially in Bukit Bintang, which is the heart of the city again, it's just a short walk from KLCC. If you are having food there, it's definitely more expensive than most places in Ho Chi Minh City. Like you pay, you know, easily $15 to $20 for a dinner. And that's for 2 people, but that's easily, right? You can also spend like 100 ringgit, 120 ringgit, depending on how many dishes you order. There's a lot of different foods, a lot of different cuisines in Malaysia because it's a country of more cultures, right? You have the Malay, you have the Chinese, you have the Indians. So here we go, we have 3 different cuisines. Take a look at the Malay, we have nasi lemak, you know, the Indian food you can imagine, you know, like curry, I mean, all kinds of traditional Indian food that's been integrated into the Malaysian culture. And then we have Chinese food, you know, a lot of different dishes. It is a food paradise. A lot of people that I've spoken to, they prefer Malaysian food over Vietnamese food, simply because of its richness, because of its huge variety. Whereas in Vietnam, it's just Vietnamese, you know. What about the visa situation? This is a very important question, you know, a very important subject, because if you want to live in Southeast Asia, if you want to live in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, or you want to live in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, you need to have some kind of visa, you know, other than just a regular tourist visa. Taking a look at Ho Chi Minh City, how it used to be pre-pandemic, we're talking pre-pandemic, not post-pandemic, so not the current time that we're in, because we don't know how things are going to pan out. Pre-pandemic, Ho Chi Minh City had a very liberal visa program. They had a single entry and multi-entry tourist visas. For Americans, they even had a 12-month business visa, which is unfortunately not available right now. You could have gotten that. You could have gone to Vietnam on a 90-day, 3-month multi-entry visa. And the good thing about this was it was extendable. You stay in the country, you extend it for another 3 months. You don't need to leave the country. And like it says, multi-entry, you can exit the country and come back in without having to apply for a new visa. That was very beneficial. A lot of foreigners took advantage. A lot of foreigners lived in Vietnam using this visa. It worked very well. However, given the current circumstances in the world, we don't know if and when the country will continue with its past visa program. A question that remains unanswered at this point. Taking a look at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, you had a 3-month tourist visa. You know, if you're from any Western country, you get 3 months. But then there wasn't really a way to extend, except for, I think, Australians. You know, they could extend for another 3 months. So they had 3 months given initially, and then another 3 months. So they were allowed to remain in the country for a total of 6 months. This does not apply anymore, I believe. And if you want to live long-term in Malaysia right now, you do need to have some kind of long-term visa. Now, there are options. There's the Malaysia My Second Home program. The requirements have changed. They have gone up. They have quadrupled in many ways. Then there is the new entrepreneur, established entrepreneur visas, ideal for tech entrepreneurs looking to establish themselves in the Far East. Those visas are still available today. You can apply for any of those visas and stay in Malaysia for a longer period of time. Vietnam is a little bit tricky when it comes to visas. It's not so easy to get an entrepreneur visa. There was a business visa, a 12-month business visa for Americans, specifically for Americans. But right now, this visa is not available anymore. But if you want to stay in Vietnam for the long term, you can get a work permit, you can get some kind of an investor visa. Obviously, it has its requirements, right? And it's not for free, it has requirements. But this would be one of the ways that you could stay in Vietnam for the long term. What about dating? Dating is a big subject for us digital nomads. We're drawn to the Far East, I mean a lot of people, we are drawn to the Far East because of its dating opportunities. Vietnam has great dating opportunities. Age doesn't matter. You know, there may be a big age gap between you and the girl that you're dating. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. Doesn't mean there isn't enough supply. In fact, there's plenty of supply. I would say, generally speaking, Vietnamese women are very open to dating foreigners. It is a very open culture. You know, it is a conservative culture, don't get me wrong, it is a conservative culture, but generally speaking, the Vietnamese women are open to dating foreigners more than other places, like I would want to say Malaysia. It's not so easy to date a local person in Malaysia. It's not easy for you to date an Indian woman. It's not going to be so easy. It's not going to be easy for you to date a Malay, because it's a different culture. I mean, Vietnamese and Western culture is also not the same, right? But there is more relaxation, you know what I mean? But if you date in Malaysia, it's a little bit tricky, you know? Yeah, you could date a Chinese Malaysian, that is an option. I have dated Chinese Malaysians in the past. At that time, I was younger than I am today. I'm not saying that age is a problem. Right now, I'm 33 years old. Back then I was 23, 24, 25. So that was the time when I was dating in Malaysia. I personally never had a problem dating in Malaysia. And in fact, the women loved me. They loved me. I'm not sure if I would have a problem if I went back right now. It was pretty easy for me to date. There's a lot of people out there that say that, oh, dating in Malaysia is difficult. You know who I'm talking about. Mr. H, Mr. Henderson says dating in Malaysia is difficult. I personally haven't found that for myself. It was easy for me. You have to put in a little bit more work and you have to differentiate yourself in Malaysia. Whereas in Vietnam, it's automatic. It's automatic. You're a foreigner. It's very easy for you to go on a date with a Vietnamese woman. Because a lot of them, they want to date foreigners, and there's a lot of them that only date foreigners. Whereas in Malaysia, there isn't really that need to date a foreigner. You know, they're happy dating a person, you know, from their own culture. You know, and one of the things I want to point out, which is 100% accurate, is that Malaysian women aren't necessarily looking to leave the country. They are not looking to migrate to Europe. They're not looking to migrate to Australia, to the United States, because they are happy in Malaysia. They're happy living in Malaysia. The Vietnamese are very different. The Vietnamese, they don't want to stay in Vietnam. They want to get out of Vietnam. They want to live in the US, they want to live in Canada, Australia, Europe. They want to get out. You know, that's one of the reasons why they date foreigners. Last but not least, the community. Very important subject. I would say the community is important for everybody. Whether you're looking to meet expats and you don't have any specific requirements, or whether you are a digital nomad that only wants to make friends with digital nomads, you can achieve that in Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur has a startup scene. There is entrepreneurs from all kinds of places. And it's gonna be pretty easy to make friends. You know, when I was in Kuala Lumpur, it was pretty easy for me to do like meetups. I organized meetups. I organized workshops. It was so much fun. You know, people were so curious, you know, to listen to my story. And it was pretty cool because back then I was using the Warrior Forum for that. I'm not sure if you know the place, but long old story. Back then I was using the Warrior Forum, and I met a lot of digital nomads and also a lot of locals that were living in Kuala Lumpur and that were doing internet marketing. It was just fun meeting up with all these different people, talking about business. And yeah, we had workshops. It was just phenomenal. On the other hand, Ho Chi Minh City is not necessarily a digital nomad hotspot. It just isn't. Da Nang, Vietnam, which is in central Vietnam, is more of a digital nomad hotspot than Ho Chi Minh City. I mean, in Ho Chi Minh City, you have a lot of people that started like local businesses, but you don't really have a lot of people that, you know, have like a tech startup that live there, you know, because they go to other places. They go to Da Nang, they go to Phuket, Thailand, they go to Bali, Indonesia, maybe Malaysia. So in Ho Chi Minh City, you don't really have that so much. You know, you have some people, but it's not like an overwhelming amount. So it's not saying that you're not going to meet people that do internet marketing, that work online. No, I'm not saying that, but it's going to be more difficult for you to maybe go to meetups, you know, where you meet a lot of foreigners. Things could have changed over the past 2 to 3 years, but I highly doubt it because the pandemic, you know, restrained foreigners from coming into the country. So if anything, it's gotten less than what it was before. Which of the discussed cities is your favorite, and what do you think about the experiences that I discussed in today's video? Leave a comment below and let us know. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you turn on that notification bell. I highly recommend that you grab a completely free copy of my ebook, Nomad Elite, The Insider's Guide to Retaining a Life of Freedom. All you need to do is click on the link below the video. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos. Thank you for watching.